All right, so for this video, I am going to walk through converting between forms of a quadratic equation. And so this is the foldable that I provided you with. And if you need to, you can print one as well. But there are three different forms of a quadratic equation, which is the unit that we're doing the problems that we're working on. So standard form you've been using for some time, probably without even realizing it. And then there's also intercept form and vertex form. All right, so first up, we'll start with standard form. So standard form is the ax squared plus bx plus c. So we've been using that a lot. We use that when we factor. We use that when we solve with quadratic formula, completing the square. So this is our standard form, which makes sense why it's called standard form. All right, intercept form is also known as factored form. So I am going to write that as a, and then parentheses, x plus or minus p and plus or minus q. So what's happening here is the a is representing the GCF, if there is one. And then we have two binomial factors when we factor it. So that's why intercept form is also known as factored form. So this might be x plus 5 and x minus 2, for example. So that is what intercept form looks like. And then vertex form is y equals a, and then in parentheses, x minus h squared plus k. And vertex form is very different from the other two. So just to compare, standard form has no parentheses at all. So we can identify standard form. We have the three terms, the trinomial, there are no parentheses. Intercept form is factored form. So if it doesn't have an x squared and it's broken into parentheses, then we know that's intercept form. Vertex form has a GCF on the outside most of the time, not always. It doesn't have to. It could be one. But it's going to have one set of parentheses squared. So vertex form is easy to identify because there's one set, but it's squared. So standard form has no parentheses. Intercept form has parentheses multiplied together. Vertex form has one set of parentheses squared. All right, so what's happening is we are going to be converting between the forms. So maybe you start with intercept form and you are changing it over to standard form. Or you might start with vertex form and change it to standard form, and so on. So what we're going to do is go through the steps for each of them and then an example. All right, so starting with standard form. So to get standard form, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to multiply the binomials together. So first we multiply the binomials. Step 2, we're going to distribute the GCF. And if there isn't one, then you skip this step. So distribute the GCF. And then the third step is to combine like terms. Combine like terms. And then that will be in standard form. So remember, if you need to pause the video if I'm going too fast, please do. All right, next I'm going to go through the steps for intercept form. So to get intercept form, first thing is you have to start in standard form. So step 1 is start in standard form. So if you're not in standard form, then you're going to have to follow the directions on the last one to get in standard form. And then, as I mentioned, intercept form is also known as factored form. So to get intercept form, you have to factor completely. And that gives you intercept form. All right, to get to vertex form. So to get into vertex form, the first thing, once again, is you have to start in standard form. So start in standard form. So again, you might have to go back to the first one, flip that up to remember how to get into standard form. Then what we're going to do is complete the square almost. So complete the square almost. Okay, and I will explain this when we get to the example. And then the last step is you're going to move the K to the other side. And again, I'll explain this when we go through an example. So you're going to start in standard form, complete the square almost, and then move K to the other side. All right, so now let's go through and do an example of each type. So first off, we'll start with standard form. So I'll go ahead and number them, I guess, since that's what I usually do. All right, example 1. So I'm going to give you y equals 2x minus 1 squared plus 7. All right, so first off, you need to identify what we're starting with. So it has one set of parentheses that's squared, so I'm starting in vertex form. But I want to get standard form, so let's follow the directions. First thing we need to do is multiply the binomials together. Well, my binomials are right here. So we need to multiply x minus 1 with x minus 1. So the 2 is still outside. So I'm going to multiply x minus 1 times x minus 1, which means distribute. So that's going to give me an x squared, and then a negative 1x, and a negative 1x, which is negative 2x, and then plus 1 on the end, and then plus 7. Now, I didn't write that kind of in-between step, so if you need to distribute and write the 4 terms, that's fine. But we know that most of the time, those 2 middle terms will be like terms, and that's where I got the negative 2x from. All right, step 2, distribute the GCF. All right, so that means we have 2x squared minus 4x plus 2 plus 7. And then the third step is to combine like terms, which is right here. So we get y equals 2x squared minus 4x plus 9. And that is in standard form. So we multiplied the binomials, we distributed the GCF, combined like terms. All right, next up, intercept form. So for example 2, I'm going to give you, how about 2x squared minus 7 equals 13x. All right, so first thing I need to do is start in standard form. Well, I'm not quite in standard form yet, so I need to bring this 13x back over here. So that's going to be 2x squared minus 13x minus 7. So that now is standard form. All right, factor completely. All right, so what that means is I need to factor this. So first I'm going to look for GCF, but I don't see one. So next I have a trinomial with a leading coefficient. So if you want to go over to the side, I need numbers that multiply to be negative 14 but add up to negative 13. So that would be negative 14 and 1. Divide by 2. So I can reduce that. So in factored form, this would be x minus 7, and this one would be 2x plus 1. And that is intercept form. So to get intercept form, you have to start in standard form and then factor completely. All right, last one. So vertex form. All right, vertex form is probably the one that has the most work, but it's not so bad at all because we've done lots of completing the square. So example 3. So I'm going to give you y equals x plus 3, x plus 5. All right, so first up, we have to start in standard form. Well, this one right now is in intercept form because this is factored. So I have to get into standard form. So to get into standard form, I have to multiply the binomials, distribute the GCF if there is one, and then combine any like terms. All right, so to go back over here, I need to multiply the binomials together. So that's going to give us x squared plus 8x plus 15. I don't have a GCF and I don't have any like terms, so now I know I'm in standard form. All right, step 2, complete the square almost. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to ignore this y for a little bit and just work with completing the square here. So first thing when we complete the square is we are going to move the 15, to the other side. All right, now we got to come up with our magic number. So half of 8 is 4, squared is 16. So I have 16 right there. So this is now going to be written as x plus 4 squared equals 1. And now this is where I'm going to stop. So I said we're going to complete the square almost. We're not going to finish it because we're not solving. What we want to do is write it in vertex form. So now what I need to do is move k to the other side. Well, here's my k. So I'm going to bring this back over. So I'm going to have x plus 4 squared minus 1, and that is vertex form. So vertex form is completing the square almost to the end. But instead of solving, I'm just going to get the value on the right, which becomes the k, and then I'm going to bring that back over to the left side. All right, so hopefully you will find this useful. Don't forget to use your foldable because that's the whole reason why we made it. So whatever form you're trying to get, if you flip this up, you'll see your steps and then an example below.